Good afternoon. This subcommittee hearing will come to order. Welcome to the third hearing of the Subcommittee on Financial Institutions and Consumer Protection this Congress. This hearing is in a hybrid format. Our members are in person, but we will have witnesses testifying both in person and by video. We're grateful for their presence. I'm honored to chair this subcommittee and to work with Ranking Member Tom Tillis to lower the everyday costs for Georgians and Americans and to ensure stability in our financial institutions that serve families, small businesses, and communities in Georgia and all around our country. And I am proud of our efforts to ensure that communities have equal access to the financial resources that build an economy that works for all Americans. Today's hearing will examine the financial services industry's practices and innovations around overdraft fees and the effects these fees or lack of fees have on hardworking families. The economic turbulence of the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed working families to the brink. Thanks in part to the relief passed by Congress to combat the pandemic, including the American Rescue Plan, our nation is recovering and rebuilding. Still, there is more Congress must do to bring financial stability to hardworking families in Georgia and all across the country. And heavy overdraft fees. These onerous fees keep people within cycles of debt and poverty. Last December, the CFPB released a report that many banks have a, quote, deep dependence on overdraft fees. Some banks that make billions of dollars per year pad their profits with billions more from charging disproportionate fees, as much as $38 for overdrafting, just a few dollars beyond what is allowed. And so someone swipes their card for a $2 cup of coffee as working families work from day to day to make their lives work, and they end up spending $40 for a $2 cup of coffee. Fees are also keeping hardworking Americans out of our financial system, particularly those living on the edge of our economy. 1/3 of unbanked households cite high fees as a reason that they remain without a bank account. And we know these types of fees affect people of color at a disproportionate rate. Studies have found that on average, banks with branches in predominantly Black neighborhoods charge more for overdraft services. In addition, customers who overdraft the most throughout the year tend to have lower income, poor credit scores, and are disproportionately Black and Hispanic. It's a vicious cycle. In response to the uncertainty brought on our nation by the pandemic, many banks moved to waive credit fees charged to their customers, like overdraft fees and fees for non-sufficient funds. This is in sharp contrast to how the industry responded after the 2008 financial crisis. And I want to applaud those banks for making the right choice to help communities. And they've demonstrated that it is possible to make the right choice and still be prosperous in their businesses. Some of these same banks have now voluntarily made these changes permanent. And every month, to their credit, we hear of more following their peers in doing the same. That's good news. Additionally, many fintech companies like the one before the subcommittee today are also offering innovative new products and services to help customers avoid fees. This is not theoretical stuff for me. I have heard from Georgians directly about the negative effects overdrafts can have on their lives and overdraft fees. In the CFPB's request for feedback on fees, One Georgian serving in our military wrote about how technical glitches and shady business practices by their large bank cost them money and stress even while they were preparing to deploy to a war zone. In another comment, a student at Georgia Tech wrote about how what little money they had while studying for an engineering degree was being, quote, skimmed off by these fees. This is also personal for me. In addition to serving as a senator for Georgia, I am also the senior pastor of the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. My church counts among its parishioners Georgians from every walk of life, and we look out for each other. As a pastor and a senator, I see my work as grounded in serving others and my community, and I want to extend this call to our nation's banks, credit unions, fintechs, and other financial institutions. I believe Congress and this subcommittee in particular have an important role to play in ensuring that the financial institutions that support our communities and our small businesses and working families have the resources, tools, and support to continue their important work. Nevertheless, at the same time, we must hold financial institutions accountable when they juice their profits off the backs of struggling, vulnerable Americans, and ensure that they are not looking at these customers as easy marks to be taken advantage of with onerous or opaque fees. I remain focused on lowering costs for Georgians and saving them money. Like all of my hearings, this hearing in the end is about helping people, ordinary people, hardworking families, and helping small businesses. As American families, small businesses, and communities recover, we must ensure they have the resources they need, not only to survive, but also to thrive. So welcome and thank you so very much for being here. I will now